Rotor. What is it? Where is it? And how do you avoid it? Let's talk about it. Everything has rotor. It's just a matter of where that rotor is and how big that rotor is. The only time there is ever zero rotor is when there is zero wind. So, what is rotor? Well, rotor hangs out on the backside of objects when the wind is blowing at them. So, let's take a look at an example. Okay, in this first example, this is where I land on Church Rock down in Moab, Utah. The wind is blowing the direction I am facing, up here, which means the rotor is directly below me over here. You'll notice I am above that hill. I am above the rock. If I dropped down about half my altitude, I would be in the rotor. And since there was enough wind for me to land on the top of it, that rotor would be pretty bad. Now, how did I notice this rotor? How did I know where the rotor was? Well, I figured out which way the wind was blowing. I looked at the object, I followed the wind path up and over it, and I knew on the back side, below the object, would be rotor, which is why you see me above it. I don't fly low below the object because I know that's where the rotor will be. If I'm going to go behind it, I'm going to go above it first. I'm going to go up, above, and then around. In the second example, you can see me land behind the trailer or fly low behind the trailer. You'll notice as I get low behind the trailer, I get slammed, and all of a sudden I jerk up into the sky. That is me getting hit with the rotor and immediately slamming the brakes and throttle so I don't slam into the ground. I knew the rotor would be behind there because the wind is blowing at the trailer, up over the trailer, and then behind the trailer, there's going to be rotor. I decided to take that risk because I knew the rotor would be small behind the trailer. In the third example, it's Dell and I down in southern Utah again, flying behind this giant, mountain butte looking thing. The wind direction is coming at an angle so that if you get in between these two hills, there is rotor. You'll notice Dell takes a collapse because of this rotor. Not that big of a deal. Collapse reopens due to brake pressure and pilot control as well as a good glider, and he continues flying. In the fourth example, this is where I land on the top of this mountain. Now the wind is blowing this way, up the hill. You'll notice my landing site is right here. One interesting thing, as that wind blows up and over the hill, right there about where I landed is about where the rotor is. So, in this particular video and on this day, I did not just immediately come in and land. I actually did it in 3 different tries. I came in a little bit low to see where the rotor would be. The next time, I came a little bit lower. The next time, a little bit lower. And the next time, I landed. Thankfully, because I tested and I did several come-arounds and go-arounds, I knew where the rotor was. I knew where it was, I knew how to find it, and I knew where to go to avoid it. So what is rotor? Well, rotor is the wind blowing at an object like this yellow building I built here, going up and over the object and all the spinning air on the back side. You want to avoid rotor at all costs. It doesn't matter how skilled you are, rotor still can get you hurt. You don't want to fly in rotor. Every object has rotor. First priority when you're trying to determine where the rotor is, 1, identify where the wind is. If you first identify where the wind is, it makes it a whole lot easier to figure out where the rotor is. First, figure out where the wind is blowing from, follow its path, identify which objects it's hitting, and figure out the backside of the objects. Avoid the backsides at all costs. If you have to go over the backside, or you want to go around back, go up and above the rotor before dropping down behind the object. You could see in this illustration here, an object getting hit with wind, and all the rotor around the wind, behind it and around it. You'll notice the wind kind of smoothens out all the way there at the back, but it's never quite the same after that object for quite a while. Okay, In conclusion, avoid rotor at all costs. It is very dangerous, can get you hurt, and you do not want to get stuck in it. Figure out which way the wind is coming from. Figure out which way the wind is blowing on the object. Identify what the backside of the object is and avoid that. I hope you guys like this video. I'll see you in the next one.